Welcome to Mind Body Monday, and thank you to all of you for joining me live, or if you're on the replay, welcome, or on the podcast. And if you are watching the replay, by the way, remember just to post comments as you go along, as they help to support the community, and I get to answer your questions too. And if you are here live today, Mind Body Monday, I encourage you to post your questions in the chat, and there'll be time at the end, hopefully, to process some of your questions pertaining to our topic tonight. And for those of you who are new to Mind Body Monday, welcome. My name is Avraham Gundle. I'm the director and founder for the Center for Integrated Medicine. I'm trained as an osteopath. I practice functional and integrated medicine. And over the last 30 years in private practice, I've been privileged to have helped thousands of patients heal from a diverse range of chronic health conditions, be it digestive problems, anxiety, obesity, diabetes, autoimmune conditions, eczema, to name a few. So if you suffer from anxiety, depression, or mood swings, even if it's only from time to time, the good news, it's not all in your head, and there's plenty you can do to improve things. And I always tell my patients, just as there's weather on the outside, in the outside world, the four seasons and everything in between, so too there's weather inside us, our mind and our body. We all go through ups and downs as part of this journey in life, and specifically at this time of increased uncertainty. So today in this mind-body training, I'm going to share with you some of the science behind one of the most overlooked possible causes of anxiety. We're going to be introduced to the ENS, that's the enteric nervous system. And I'm going to share with you one of my favorite breathing techniques to calm anxiety and to settle the gut. And I'm going to share with you really one surprising, quite shocking result of a peer-reviewed study. And then we're going to learn towards the end of the training today, the functional medicine approach to treating anxiety, and then some exciting news coming towards the end of the month, which I will hint to at the end of today. So I'm curious to know, and if you can just type in the chat, how many of you have ever experienced any anxiety or mood swings or depression at any time in your life or in the past? Go ahead, type in the chat so I can just see how many of you have you experienced. Just type in yes, mood swings, or yes, anxiety, or yes, depression. And I'd be curious, as you do type, do you also have any gut symptoms? Do you have any digestive problems, bloating, gas, flatulence, IBS, SIBO, Crohn's, celiac, colitis, etc.? Just go ahead, and that way I'm able to tailor-make these trainings to serve you. And if you haven't seen the first Mind Body Monday, I lay out the rules, I lay out the game of Mind Body Mondays and really what's in it for you. So go ahead, type in the chat, what is your experience? What have you noticed? Super, super. So it's very interesting to know that over 40 million adults in the USA today have some sort of anxiety disorder. And approximately 7% of children aged 3 to 17 experience issues with anxiety. And women are more than twice as likely as men to get an anxiety disorder sometime during their life. And I guess that's probably to do with their main role as caregiver. And that is a complex, amazing position in life. And it comes with a package, so to speak, and a privilege. So if you've ever gone with your gut and made a decision or felt butterflies in your stomach when nervous, then you're likely getting signals from an unexpected source. And this is not your brain in your head, but this is the brain in your gut. And this research, breakthrough research, is revolutionizing medicine and science today as they're demonstrating even more powerful and deeper connections between the mind and the body, between digestion, between mood and the even the way we think. We're going to see shortly some very, very fascinating research. So scientists call the brain, the brain in our gut, the ENS, the enteric nervous system. And the ENS is two thin layers of more than 100 million nerve cells lining your gastrointestinal tract, from the esophagus, that's the top, all the way down to the bottom, so to speak. The enteric nervous system doesn't seem capable of thought as we know it, but it communicates back and forth with our brain in our head with incredible and profound results. The interesting thing here with the ENS is it may trigger quite significant emotional shifts experienced by people who are challenged with some sort of digestive disorder, be it IBS or SIBO or functional bowel problems such as constipation or diarrhea or bloating or pain. And research has shown for decades that anxiety and depression are very much contributing to gut problems. However, research at Johns Hopkins University and Medical School and other research scientists have shown that it really works the other way around, that more and more research is pointing to that any irritation in the GI system, the gastrointestinal system, it sends signals to the central nervous system, and that triggers mood changes. And these new findings may explain why a higher than normal percentage of people with IBS and or functional gastrointestinal problems have also depression and anxiety. And this is important because more than 30 to 40% of the population does have some sort of functional bowel problem at this point. So it's interesting what really comes first. And it doesn't really make too much of a difference as long as you'll see very shortly that both are handled. And I'd like to share with you a quick case history from my practice. So I was working with a 65-year-old woman suffering from IBS, anxiety, and severe brain fog. On some days, she couldn't even drive. Now, I understand very well, and you will too by the end of this short training, that part of the healing program had to include both diet, nutritionals, and herbs and etc. to support the gut lining, and obviously tools to help calm her anxiety. One without the other is simply ineffective in the long term. And why is this? This is because the body and the brain are one interconnected system, which means you can't treat anxiety effectively by only using drugs or therapy. You need to treat the whole body together because the body and the brain are one interconnected system. Unfortunately, conventional medicine plays a game, what I call the name and blame game. Often if someone's anxious, then they're labeled as being anxious, and then they need to take anti-anxiety medication. But it doesn't say anything about why are they anxious necessarily. So coming to this, back to this patient of mine, she came to me already on anxiety medication, and she was on what's called an SSRI, which stands for selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. That's why it's called an SSRI. It's quite much shorter and quicker to pronounce. Now, this is interesting. It works by slowing reabsorption of a very important brain neurotransmitter called serotonin into the brain. So therefore, there's more serotonin circulating in the brain as a result of this SSRI medication. Now, just pause for a moment. Is anybody asking the question, why is there not enough serotonin in the first place? It's not necessarily a Prozac deficiency. That's the problem. Functional medicine takes a totally different approach. By taking a detailed case history, doing specialized testing and a personalized approach, it seeks to get to the root of the issue. Now, once I fixed this 65-year-old woman's gut, 90% of her symptoms cleared up. Her IBS symptoms reduced significantly. She also felt a lot calmer. I sent her back to a prescribing doctor to adjust her meds as she was so much better on her own. Now, why does this work? Why does this make sense? And here's the key piece. 95% of our serotonin is made in the gut. 50% of dopamine, which is another very important brain neurotransmitter, I'll explain shortly, is made in the gut. So here, and furthermore, the gut is wrapped in a neural network with direct connection to the brain through the vagus nerve. So the gut is a key player in healing anxiety, depression, mood disorders. So let's just take a look very quickly. What is serotonin? Serotonin is the key hormone or brain neurotransmitter that stabilizes our mood, feelings of well-being, and generates feelings of happiness. And this hormone impacts our entire body. It enables the brain and other cells of the body to communicate better with one another. And it also helps with sleeping, eating, and digestion. Dopamine is responsible for allowing you to feel pleasure, satisfaction, and motivation. So the gut-brain connection is very deep and very powerful. So you can, by fixing the gut, you can impact not only anxiety and brain fog, like I did in this patient's case, but other neurological and mood disorders as well. So here's the key takeaway for now. Whenever you think anxiety, think gut. Now, today's Mind Body Monday, and I always like on Mind Body Monday to share with you some sort of practice that you can take home with you to enhance this mind-body connection. And in the case for today is how to calm anxiety and restore balance and to settle the gut. And this is one of my favorite and most simple breathing techniques. There are many add-ons to it, but just for today, we're going to do the simple breathing technique. It's called the harmony breath, and it's breathing in fours. Now, the benefits of this breathing technique, firstly, it helps to reduce anxiety by increasing oxygen to the brain. It can help reduce panic attacks and stress when feeling overwhelmed for the same reason. Also, it stimulates the vagus nerve, which is part of the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest part of our nervous system. And that helps to rest our digestive system, calm the gut, and settle the mind and body. It also helps with sleep, and if people are having trouble falling asleep, as in insomnia, it also helps calm them down as well. In fact, I use this most nights at 2 bookends of my day. I'm going to sleep, I do this breathing practice. It helps to oxygenate my brain, so I get a deeper REM, deeper restorative sleep, and wake up feeling a lot better, energized, ready for my day. And I also do it when I wake up in the mornings to greet my day with a few deep breaths, as I'm going to show you shortly. It also helps to control hyperventilation. If someone is having a panic attack, it invites the lungs to breathe in a rhythmic way. It helps you refocus when you feel overwhelmed or if you've had a busy or stressful day. It eases panic and worry. Wow, that's a lot in a very simple exercise or process. So just before we do the harmony breath, I'm just curious, go ahead, type in the chat. If you were to close your eyes if you can, if you're driving or listening on a podcast, then don't do that. Keep your eyes open, just listen. But if you can, take a moment just to sit up straight, take a nice deep breath in. And as you breathe out, just allow your breath to settle down, your shoulders to drop down from the busyness of your day. And take another nice, gentle breath in through your nose. And this time as you breathe out, allow your belly to soften, your face to soften and relax. And let your breathing settle down to rhythm and pace that's natural and comfortable for you. And take a moment just to check in with your body. Just to notice how much stress or tension or fatigue is in your body or mind right now. So if you can imagine a scale from 1 to 5, 5 is high stress, high fatigue, high overwhelm, and 1 is really calm, settled, energized, and feeling good and okay. So between a 1 and 5, 5 is high stress, fatigue, pain, and discomfort, and 1 is really relaxed. Take a moment, just type in the chat for me so I can get a sense of what are you noticing? Because the more often you notice, then the body begins a feedback loop and already begins at an unconscious level to address the imbalance. So go ahead and just type in the chat, what do you notice between 1 and 5? Very good. Very good. So the breathing exercise is very simple. We're going to use a metronome for today, and I'm going to help you count just for the beginning until you learn on your own. Simply, the first stage is to breathe out through your nose, and if your nose is blocked, through your mouth is fine too. All the breathing in when you can is through your nose, and all the breathing out is with your lips, but preferably through pursed lips, where they gently squeeze together like this. This has shown to put a little bit of back pressure on the lungs, help to calm and relax the lungs, and also to balance the carbon dioxide and oxygen ratios in your blood. So, first stage is you're going to breathe out by emptying your lungs. Then you're going to count to 4, and I'll do this for you in the beginning as you breathe in for 4. You'll breathe in fully for 4 until your lungs are full. And if you get them full before you get to the count of 4, that's fine. Try and pace yourself. Then you're going to hold your breath for the count of 4. And if 4 is too long for you, just do what you can. Then as you breathe out through pursed lips, you're going to breathe out for 4, squeezing all the air out. And then lastly, holding your breath for 4. This harmony breathing has all these benefits that I mentioned to you before. And it's wonderful to do at the end of your day, at the beginning of your day, or whenever you feel overwhelmed or anxiety. So, any questions before we start? Super. Okay, so let's try this together. So sitting up in your chairs, taking a nice breathe in before we start. And as you breathe out, just empty your lungs, breathing out completely. And now breathing in for 4. I'll count for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath, but drop your shoulders. 2, 3, 4. Now breathing out through pursed lips. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. Hold your breath. 1, 2, 3, 4. And one more time. Breathing in for 4. Very good. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now breathing out through pursed lips. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And breathe normally. Just notice what you feel in your body. Just notice what you feel in your mind. This is only 2 rounds, just under 1.5 or 2 minutes. That's amazing. I always go ahead, type in the chat. What did you notice? What did you notice? Very good. Let's do 2 more rounds. I'm going to put on a metronome in the back, which is 60 beats per minute. And you can close your eyes. Let's just do 2 more rounds. I'll join you for the second round. We'll do 2 rounds, and then we'll come back, and you can share in the chat what you noticed. So let's begin. Taking a nice deep breath in. You can turn your volume up on your devices. And let's begin with the in-breath. Hold. Breathing out. Hold. Breathing in. Hold. Breathing out. Hold. And breathing normally. Go ahead, just type in the chat what you noticed. Very good. Very good. Excellent. Super. Open your eyes, come back to the training, and with practice, you'll find yourself going into a deeper state of relaxation and shifting your state from a more anxious state to a more calm state. And with a little bit of practice and a little bit of time, your whole body's physiology will likely begin to change. So as a functional medicine practitioner, my goal is always to look at the underlying causes of chronic issues, be it anxiety or mood disorders. And what I know from years of experience in the clinic with patients is that there's generally no one reason for why a person has the challenge they have. And generally speaking, there's also no one solution either. It's a multidisciplinary approach to health and healing. As with any chronic condition, anxiety issues are multifaceted. There are many pieces to the puzzle. However, that being said, there is one key that I see time and time again, especially when a patient has anxiety or someone is on anxiety medication or taking antidepressants and is still feeling anxious or depressed and they need more help. So there are many, many strategies. One of the key strategies, and I'm going to focus on this briefly today, is the gut. Because the gut is home to trillions of bacteria. And this community is collectively known as your microbiome. In fact, your body is comprised of 15 trillion human cells and about 90 trillion bacterial cells. The bacterial cells contain at least 150 times more genes than the human genome. And in a way, we are more bacteria than human, so to speak. And as it turns out, the composition of your microbiome has a distinct effect on how we feel, and it affects our moods too. And I want to share with you a fascinating peer-reviewed article in a journal called BMC Psychiatry, where scientists looked, and this is not for the faint-hearted. So you can go ahead and plug your ears because this is pretty shocking research. And the scientists discovered, because they were looking for a link between the gut microbiome and anxiety. And there's a process they called FMT, which stands for fecal microbiota transplant. Yes, FMT is simply taking stool samples containing a person's microbiome and transplants them into somebody else's gut. I'll leave you to figure out the details. Now, in several studies, researchers transplanted stool samples containing microbes from the guts of people who did not have anxiety into those people who did have anxiety. And in all of the studies, the symptoms of the people who received the samples were significantly reduced, although this only lasted a couple of months. So the researchers decided to do the opposite and research the other way around, which they did. They took stool samples from the guts of people with anxiety and transplanted them in people without anxiety. And guess what? It increased the anxiety of those people who previously didn't have anxiety. Now, this is the conclusion of this research paper. There appears to be a strong evidence-based treatment for treatment and transmission of psychiatric illnesses through FMT. And they end off by saying further research with larger sample sizes and stronger scientific design is warranted in order to fully determine the efficacy and safety of this potential treatment. I think this is fascinating. I really do, because it really, really highlights the importance of a healthy gut for mood stabilization. And very often in psychiatric treatment or treatment with anxiety medication or mood modification medication, the gut is just not considered. And when we remind ourselves that 95% of serotonin is made in the gut and 50% of dopamine is made in the gut, it becomes so important to make this number one priority. And there is another research study showing where they took they took probiotic rich foods like sauerkraut or kimchi or probiotic yogurts with a broad spectrum probiotic, cultured vegetables that have a rich and biodiversity of probiotic content. And by changing the microbiome, that decreased the anxiety in people who they did this research with. And this is really fascinating. Now, I'm going to be, I want to just quickly take a look at the chat and see if anybody has written any questions in. And yes, I see the questions are still coming. So in summary, always look to understand the causes of anxiety. And remember that 95% of serotonin and 50% of dopamine are made in the gut. So it's always best, even if a person is on antidepressant medication or just wants to be and feel at their best, it's so important to include probiotic rich foods, prebiotic fibers, and eat a nutrient dense eating plan, also eliminating the toxins that I've discussed in previous Mind Body Monday training. So check those out in the Facebook group or my YouTube channel, where you can get the previous trainings with all this practical information. So it's the two-pronged approach really is avoiding the no-nos, which is the processed oils and the refined foods and refined carbohydrates and sugars, etc., and a lot of the toxins that come along in our diet, and adding in to our diet nutrient-dense eating along with probiotics every single day. And food forms are always best. It's also cheapest in the long run. However, as mentioned in my previous Mind Body Mondays, sometimes it's also very good to supplement. Also for convenience, a very good broad-based probiotic tablet or capsule that also contains live spore or what's called soil-based organisms. Check out my previous Mind Body Mondays for information on that. So just before I end with the weekly challenge, I just want to hint towards a very exciting brand new program that I'm going to announce at the end of January. So please stay tuned. So the weekly challenge is that at least at one meal a day for the next week, work to include probiotic rich foods in your diet, like cultured vegetables, pickles, sauerkraut, or take a probiotic. By the way, most people, some of my patients come into my clinic proudly with a can of pickles or a jar of sauerkraut that they purchased at the health food store. Buyer beware that these have zero probiotic value because they've been pasteurized and they weren't really cultured or fermented. They used a chemical process to enhance shelf life, and as a result, there is zero probiotic value. So it's best either to buy fresh from someone who makes it or learn to make it yourself. If you be in touch with me on support@avrahamgundle.com, we will send you some resources on how to make your own probiotics. Okay, so thanks once again for joining me on Mind Body Monday. I look forward to seeing you next week. And remember that Mind Body Monday is where self-care is the heart of healthcare. And just take one small step today, this week, to enhance your well-being of mind, body, and soul. I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.